Good morning. Yesterday, we reflected on God's grace working in Samuel's life to make him faithful to God and his calling to serve God all the days of his life. His testimony inspires us to faithfulness, doesn't it? And it's our hopes that our faithfulness to God will inspire others to be faithful. Now, contrast that with the nation of Israel that Samuel had judged and then prophesied to. When they were given the opportunity to prove faithful to God, they did not. They looked at other nations and saw their kings. They wondered what it would be like for them to have an earthly king. And apparently, they reflected on it so much that they began to want it for themselves. They wanted to be like all the other nations, even though they weren't, because they were God's chosen people, chosen by him to be unique, to be his very own people, where he ruled them as their king. But they didn't want that. So as we read in 1 Samuel 8, there was a demand for a king. I mean, it wasn't even a request. Maybe it started like a request, but in the end, even after God warned them what an earthly king would take from them and do to them, they still responded in verse 19. But the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel, and they said, "No, but there shall be a king over us, that we also may be like all the nations, and that our king may judge us and go out before us and fight our battles." And when Samuel had heard all the words of the people, he repeated them in the ears of the Lord. And the Lord said to Samuel, "Obey their voice and give them a king." So, instead of asking God what he wanted, they told God what they wanted and even demanded. So God gave them what they wanted. And while that might sound good that they got what they wanted, was it the best? It wasn't. Remember, godly prayer is always submissive, not demanding. The reason is because God knows what is best, and we don't. We must trust him and defer to him in all matters. I mean, remember Jesus praying, "Not my will, but yours be done." For them it was not your will, but ours be done. So evidently God knew that there would be lessons they needed to learn through the experiences of having an earthly king. And as we'll read in the coming chapters of Samuel, that was the case. The king would do just as Samuel had warned, and the people would learn life and faith lessons from those more difficult experiences. So, what does it mean for us? Well, first, it's always important to pray about everything, to make your requests known to God. We're invited, even instructed, to do that. God welcomes us to speak with him and make requests of him. However, all requests should be coupled with a faith, a trust that ultimately yields to whatever God deems best for us in that request. If it's best that he say no, or not yet, or here's something else, our part, our faith, is to accept that and thank him. We must not resent for God not giving us what we wanted and we're convinced that we needed. Ultimately, we need him. So today, look to him. Pray to him. Make your requests to him. And then, as an expression of trust, add sincerely, "Yet not my will, but yours be done." Why don't we close by joining our hearts and praying the prayer that the Lord gave us? It reminds us to have a submissive heart. Join me. Our Father, who is in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen.